Good afternoon. Welcome to the Postnatal Depletion and the Four Pillars of Health webinar series presented by MommyTrack Fitness. Before we jump into today's session, which is on activity or exercise, I'd like to briefly talk a bit about MommyTrack Fitness. And because I am the owner of MommyTrack Fitness, my name is Alexandra Sampson, and we'll be doing today's session. You'll be able to hear a bit more about the company later on. But we are a fitness company that celebrates women wearing dual hats as mothers and careers, and we're devoted to addressing the obstacles that working mothers face in trying to stay fit while balancing their family and professional lives. And we do that through a number of initiatives, including fitness events such as this webinar series, fitness programming such as virtual fit camps and boot camps, and providing information through our website. We've had a phenomenal lineup for this webinar series, and I've listed here or displaying here the photos of all the women that have participated and will participate in the remainder of the series. If you have not had a chance to listen to or watch the recordings from the prior sessions, I encourage you to visit our YouTube page to check out the prior 3 sessions. There's one more session in the series which will focus on nutrition, and again, just an amazing group of women that have been sharing a lot of knowledge and information on self-care for moms. So today is session 4 in this month-long webinar series, and we'll be talking about exercise. We've been reviewing the 4 pillars of health, which are sleep, purpose, activity, and nutrition. And today I want to really talk about an issue that's near and dear to my heart, and is really the reason why I started MommyTrack Fitness, which is really navigating some of the nuances and obstacles and fitting exercise into a busy mom's schedule. And in doing that, I just want to give you a brief insight into my story. I have 10 years of experience as a group fitness instructor, and really started out in fitness before I started in my current career profession, which is actually outside of the fitness industry. And I've been working as a wife, and 3 years ago, my husband and I were fortunate enough to have our first child. And, I had a really difficult time as someone who had a lot of head knowledge as far as what to do from a fitness standpoint, certainly as a fitness professional, and someone who had been in the fitness industry. I knew, sort of the things that I needed to do in order to stay fit, and to, kind of get back to the fitness level that I was accustomed to prior to having a child. But I really was not prepared at all to navigate the issues that I faced at trying to balance, my career, being a new mom, being a wife, and wanting to find time after giving energy to all those endeavors to really focus on fitness. And so that actually is really what prompted me to start MommyTrack Fitness. It really originated as a blog idea. I was encouraged by my husband, who I'd vented to for a while about wanting to exercise, but finding all these obstacles and having to find new ways to exercise, and not being able to really engage in the fitness regimen that I was accustomed to pre-baby. And he actually encouraged me to go ahead and start this blog where I could share with women and some of my clients the challenges that I was facing and how I was actually working through them. And so MommyTrack Fitness has actually grown into moving from just writing articles and to actually providing some solutions to other women that are in the same boat, where maybe you had a previous fitness routine and you want to get back to it, or maybe you never really had the type of fitness regimen that you might like, and you want to find, ways to do it now that there are extra layers of responsibilities added on. So that's kind of my story. And I want to segue from that into the goals for today's session in terms of exercise. I think we're gonna start with thinking about some of the recommendations with respect to exercise. Looking at why is it so important to exercise? What are some of the recommendations about the type of exercise that we should be engaging in? How much of it should we be engaging in? And then moving into discussing some of the obstacles that women face, working moms face, in trying to meet some of those recommendations. And then finally, and I think most importantly, discussing some practicals on how to do that. So just starting with, why is exercise important? The first bullet, it's important because there's certainly benefits to exercising, and there's also consequences of not having a consistent exercise routine. And weight control is the first bullet here. And I think honestly that's what comes to mind a lot of times when people think about the importance of exercise. And it certainly is an important benefit of exercising, but it's not the only benefit. And so there are a number of studies out there that have given thought to, why is it so important to exercise and to really be consistent in doing so. And, some of those studies have shown that other benefits of exercising include that it boosts brain power, it actually improves mental capacity, it melts stress. And, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm having a really tough day, being able to go for a run and kind of get out some of the, stressful energy of the day is enough to kind of calm me down. I know, especially when I'm able to get in a lunchtime, workout, that's certainly a great way to kind of do a mental reset for the day. If I've had a morning that's been snowballed by meetings and fire drills, having that time to get away and to focus on exercising is a great way to reset and to melt away some of that stress. And it also helps to ward off disease. There's a number of studies showing the benefits of exercise to help individuals be healthier, from warding off everything as small or seemingly small as the common cold or flu symptoms to other bigger diseases, including diabetes or heart issues. So those are really some examples of some of the benefits of exercising. Exercise is important also because there are a number of consequences of not exercising. One of those being maintaining a healthy weight and weight gain. As adults, as we get older, there's a tendency for our natural metabolic rate to slow down, which means the rate at which your body burns energy slows as you get older. And so exercise is a great way to offset some of that. It's a tool to do that. It's certainly not the only tool. There are others, namely nutrition, making sure that you're eating healthy, balanced meals. But exercise is a great tool for warding off weight gain and obesity. Studies also showed that those who exercise tend to live longer than those who do not. So it's a great way to ward off premature death. It also shows, there's also studies showing that not exercising can present increased risk for depression. And finally, another consequence of not exercising, which is linked in some ways to the premature death bullet, is that you may be more prone to illness or disease. So what types of exercise is recommended? There's certainly recommendations and guidelines out there. The American College of Sports Medicine is one of the leading set of guidelines about exercise and exercise recommendations. And ACSM actually recommends that adults engage in 4 types of exercise each week. And those include cardio respiratory exercise. Many of you will be familiar with this in the forms of running, walking, biking, playing sports. A lot of times I like to identify cardio exercises as being those that you would, you might normally, you know, start to breathe a little bit harder. You might notice your heart rate to go up a bit with. Those are some of the cardio respiratory exercises. Also, another category that's recommended is resistance training and resistance exercises. This is where you're going to be working with a way to actually add some resistance to whatever exercise that you're doing. A lot of times this will be done through weight training. If you belong to a local gym, you may engage in the usage of free weights or weight equipment. I actually personally like resistance bands as an alternative to weights for exercise. I recommend it a lot of times to clients, particularly those who are busy. If you travel a lot, if you work out at home a lot, resistance bands are a great way to get in resistance training if you don't have a dumbbell or free weight set at your disposal, and they're small enough to be tucked into a carry-on bag if you're traveling. And so I certainly recommend resistance exercises through resistance band training. And then also body weight training. I mean, a lot of times you can get in resistance exercise without actually using any equipment at all, just using your own body weight. And you might think about push-ups as a good example of this, where you're actually, placing resistance on a muscle group just by using your own body weight. The third type of exercise that's recommended is flexibility exercises, things that keep you to increase your flexibility or maintain flexibility. You will most likely think of this or notice this through stretches. If you take in exercise classes, you may notice that generally at the end of a group fitness class, there's usually at least a segment of the class is devoted to stretching, and this actually really helps to improve your range of motion. And then the final category of exercise that's recommended is neuromotor exercise. And this is actually a newer category. It was just added to the guidelines in the 2011 update. And it's also referred to sometimes as functional fitness training. And this type of exercise is meant to involve your motor skills. It's going to increase or test your balance, your agility, your coordination, your gait. And some of the examples of this type of exercise that you might identify with are yoga or Tai Chi. So what are the amounts of exercise that we should be engaging in each week? Of course, we've gone through the guidelines that discuss what types we should be engaging in. Well, how much of this exercise should we be taking on? And the ACSM has recommendations as far as how much or the amount of exercise each week you should be engaging in each category. Before I delve into those, I want to emphasize that these are recommendations. And I know a lot of times when I talk with clients about the type of exercise and how much is recommended, it can seem overwhelming, and not everyone will necessarily need the amounts of exercise as recommended by the guidelines. And certainly the emphasis with respect to developing a fitness regimen is to develop one that will work for your schedule and that's practical, that you can be committed to, and that you can be consistent in. And I generally advise clients to allow that to be their guiding principle in determining how much exercise to engage in each week. Certainly the ACSM guidelines are a great place to start. And if you can sit down and allow your schedule to work out in such a way where you can meet the recommendations, great. If not, again, focusing on what's going to be practical for your own lifestyle and your personal fitness regimen is what is important. But to look at the recommendations, as far as cardiorespiratory exercise goes, the ACSM recommends 150 minutes per week of cardiorespiratory exercise. There are some suggestions about how to divide that 150 minutes or 2.5 hours based on the intensity of the exercise. So if you're doing more moderate intensity exercise, one suggestion is to break that up into 5 days a week for 30 to 60 minutes. If you're going to do a higher intensity workout, the recommendation or suggestion is to divide that 150 minutes into 3 days a week for 20 to 60 minutes. For resistance training, the recommendation is to do that for 2 to 3 days, or 2 or 3 days each week. Flexibility, also 2 to 3 days each week. And for neuromotor, 2 to 3 days for 20 to 30 minutes. And, you can look at this chart and say, well, wow, there's not even enough days in the week to really meet all of these recommendations. Generally, you will or may combine one or more exercise type in a single session. So, for example, with the fitness programming that we offer through MommyTrack Fitness, we will offer a class that will cover cardiorespiratory resistance and flexibility exercise all in a single class. And so a lot of times you will combine these to get to the recommended amount. So transitioning over from some of the, kind of head knowledge of what we should be doing and why we should be doing it, let's transition and talk a little bit about, well, what are some of the things that might make it difficult for a working mom to actually do those things? And I've listed here just some of the, some examples of some of the obstacles that I've personally faced in my own fitness regimen. Also, things that I've heard from friends or other clients that have been obstacles for them. And so just wanted to talk a bit about those. One of the primary reasons for not being able to have a consistent exercise that I've heard, that I've even had or used, is the lack of time. My schedule is jam-packed. I'm constantly, moving from one thing to the next. How can I possibly find additional time to exercise? And time constraints is certainly a big obstacle for a number of people. I've found that oftentimes, though, the lack of time is generally more so a perception than reality. And we'll talk about that a bit more when we get into some of the practicals for exercise. But a lot of time, we can generally, I find, and I found this with my own scheduling, that if I really prioritize and kind of figure out what are some things that are important to me, I can generally find a place to squeeze those things in. And so lack of time usually is the first obstacle that's cited for not exercising, but it's actually usually one of the easier ones to cure. Too tired, where will I muster up the energy to actually go to the gym? And certainly that's a valuable reason for not being able to get exercise in. One of the great things about exercise, though, is that it can also be a great way to obtain additional energy, to kind of have more energy to do some of the other things that you're doing throughout the day. And so I think that's also an obstacle that we'll talk about as a way to work on. And I think that also pairs really nicely with the sleep session that we did earlier in the series, and picking up on some of those tips to make sure that you're getting enough rest so that you can be able to move on and go out and burn some energy. No childcare. Certainly, this is an issue that stay-at-home moms and working moms face alike. If you're at home with your children, generally, there may not seem to be enough time in the day, or there may not be somewhere to take your kids, while you want to work out. I know for me, even when I was on maternity leave and I was using a gym at the time that had childcare, I still was kind of, I was reluctant to drop my infant off at the childcare, because I was like, I don't know, it's a baby, and I don't I don't know what the experience of the, individuals in gym childcare. So I think even when there is access to childcare, even in a gym setting, sometimes that can still be an issue. Certainly if you're a working mom, even if you have a spouse at home. I know, for example, in my household, my husband and I have, pretty demanding work schedules, and there's generally no weekday where the both of us, are home. So it's either, I'm home with the kids and he's working, or he's home with the kids and I'm working. And so sometimes there's not that ability to kind of peel away and get in a workout while someone's watching the kids. Lack of motivation. I find that this is actually a big obstacle. Sometimes, let's face it, not everyone wakes up and the first thing they're thinking about is, wanting to go hit the gym or wanting to go for that run. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's just, you just don't have either the internal motivation to do it or even the proper external motivation. Cost. Especially for, I think, new moms and parents of young children, there's certainly a lot of budget demands that having little ones might invoke. And so cost is certainly a real issue when it comes to trying to start a new fitness program, or join a gym, or whatever the case might be. Lack of self-efficacy. This is a really good one, and it really speaks to not believing that you can do it. I've certainly experienced this in my own fitness regimen. I've had clients have expressed this, in that, thinking that your goals, whatever goals that you've set for yourself from a fitness standpoint, are so far off, they're so big, that you just feel like you can't really, you question whether you can really accomplish it, or you can really do it. And sometimes that can be a barrier to just even getting started, is thinking about, the big goal really stops you from just even getting to moving. Injuries and health issues are another concern. A lot of times if you have an injury, it's hard to want to push through to work out. I certainly, don't recommend exercising in pain, or, making an injury worse. However, there are also ways that you can use exercise to improve on some injuries. And so, but, certainly injuries and health issues might be an obstacle. And finally, you just don't want to do it. I mean, again, that goes back to some of the motivation. Exercising is just not necessarily, the first thing that you want to do. And so what's a mom to do? And I've actually found that there's a kind of a three-prong approach that's worked well for me, and one that I suggest for clients, which involves in implementing and making sure that you commit, plan, and act. So taking a three-prong approach to pushing through and incorporating exercise into a busy schedule. And I just want to take a moment to go through each of these. Commitment, committing to it. This is actually, of the three, it's the shortest on the list. It's just one thing that you need to do, but it's oftentimes the hardest. Making a commitment that exercise is going to be priority to you, that being fit is going to be a priority to you, and understanding why that's important. And so a lot of times I would recommend to take some time and really sit down and think about why you might want to engage in a fitness routine. Think about whether those reasons are reasons that are going to help you to be consistent and stick with it for the long term. Also, just making a mental decision that this is something that you're going to do and that you're going to be committed to it. And usually I think that's the hardest part, is getting to that place where you're so adamant that this is something that you're going to do and that you're going to take on and that you're going to be consistent in it, that you're really not going to let, really very little get in the way of that. The second approach that I suggest is planning. Coming up with a plan as to how you're going to do it. you have to, I would say certainly those that have been most successful in sticking to a fitness routine are ones that have planned out, how they're going to actually engage in that routine. And so when I say plan ahead, I mean planning in terms of one, when will you work out? What days, even down to the level of what times of those days will you work out. Also, I suggest planning backup days. Certainly, schedules change and life events occur. So also having in mind, what are some alternate days or times that you can use when your original plan doesn't work out. Planning ahead also includes what will you do on those days. Is it going to be, I'm going to go for an early morning run, or I'm going to go for a swim, or I'm going to take a fitness class at my gym. It may be a shorter term plan where I'm going to, participate in a local boot camp program, but really making specific plans about exercise. Along with planning, I also say, treat your workouts the way you would treat any other important appointment. And for me, what that involves is putting it on my calendar. I live and die by my calendar. There's something about deadlines that drive me. And so, in appointments. And so I generally put my workouts in my calendar. And so I list, it's a calendar appointment for the time, and it includes what I'm doing that day. And that's a great way for me to kind of stick to my plan. But I would figure out, what is it for you? Think about what helps you, stick to anything else in your schedule that's important, and try and apply a similar approach to your workouts. And finally, communicate your plan to those around you, those within your support system. This would be your spouse. That's certainly important if their schedule will have to be considered in anything that you've decided to do from an exercise standpoint. This might also be girlfriends or babysitters, those who can actually help you with watching the kids while you're going to exercise. But certainly having your plan and communicating it to those who are going to help you to be able to implement it. And then the final category is act. Take action. Get moving. And with respect to this category, I think this is where you really put into practice some of the things that you've already planned out and actually doing them. I usually encourage, in terms of practical ways to make it more likely that you can exercise, take advantage of virtual training options. Now more than ever, there are opportunities to work out with others or with the leadership of a coach without having to even leave your living room. There's a number of platforms that offer, video on demand exercises or workouts, where you can, watch those from home. Of course, you have the traditional, fitness videos, but take advantage of the opportunity to work out where you don't have to, spend time traveling to a gym if that's going to be a big deterrent in staying committed. If you choose to use a gym, consider choosing one with childcare, especially if you think that will be helpful to you in actually fulfilling your plan. Take advantage of shorter, higher intensity workouts. This has been a critical shift in my own fitness regimen. No longer are the days where I can go and just spend an hour in the gym just because I want to. Now my fitness regimen and my workouts have to be very purposeful, and they have to be time efficient. And so high intensity workouts, if your current fitness level will allow for them, are a great way to get in the exercise and not have to engage in it for very long. If you're doing 20 minutes of high intensity exercise, that's going to give you a lot of great benefits in a short amount of time. And this actually segues into the next bullet, which is to tailor your workout to your level. And in that means if you're not ready for high intensity workouts, that's fine. Make sure that you're working out at your current level and what works for you. Again, it's your workout. This is your personal fitness. And so it should be tailored to something that works for you. And there's always, you will find that the more that you engage in fitness activities, that your fitness level and abilities will continue to increase. And so likewise, you will want to continue to increase your level of fitness activities. And then finally, make it fun. It's certainly harder to be consistent with something that you just don't enjoy doing. Try to pick exercise types or programs that you will look forward to doing, that you can't wait to get to. There's a lot of, non-traditional programs out there. For example, Zumba has been a great program that a lot of women have engaged in, that has just made it fun to actually go in and get in a workout. And so whatever you do, choose something that will be fun. It will certainly increase, your desire to actually want to get to the gym or get to that program. And, before we wrap up, I wanted to just mention an option that we offer through MommyTrack Fitness. We actually have a virtual or online fitness studio named Virtual MT Fit. And it actually, is a platform that allows women to work out from the comfort of their home with a live coach and other students. So it's kind of what I like to call the best of both worlds. It gives you the camaraderie of going to a group fitness class, at your local gym, and the benefit of having a coach to watch your form and cue you. And it also gives you the benefits and the convenience of working out at home to a fitness video, or with some of the, other on-demand pre-recorded fitness platforms. And so we've been really excited about this. Again, it was created with the working mom in mind as an option. And so we will have actually launching this fall a virtual fit camp using the Virtual MT Fit platform. So I encourage you to just stay tuned and to look to our website, as well as emails through our newsletter about more information about some of the fitness programming that will be offered through Virtual MT Fit. And wanted to leave you with our contact information. We're very social, so if you participate in any of the various social media platforms, I encourage you to find us and follow us or like us. That's a great way to stay updated about what we're doing and the different programs and initiatives that we have going on. And we're always, looking to connect with new moms. So we're actually out of time. So we're going to actually skip the live question portion. But if you have a question about exercising, developing a personal fitness regimen, certainly send us an email to info@mommytrackfitness.com. We'd love to talk with you, hear your question, and to be able to provide an answer. And don't forget, we have one more session in the series. And next week, we'll be talking about food as nourishment, the final pillar of health. Cheryl Harris with Harris Whole Health will be leading that discussion and providing some great information on how nutrition plays such a huge role in our overall health and well-being. And really want to thank you for joining us today. And we hope that you will tune in next week. Bye-bye.